And it's all because your mama don't dance and your daddy don't rock and roll.
The views expressed on the Sober Portland radio show do not necessarily reflect those of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting, Take 12 Radio, or its affiliates. KHLT and Take 12 Radio are not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship. And now, broadcasting on location somewhere in the vast expanse of the Pacific Northwest for the Sober Portland radio show, it's the over-opinionated 12-stepologist, the Monty Man.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Over opinionated, under caffeinated, needing rejuvenation. I am exhausted. I am pooped. I am tired, but I am here. And our schedule's kind of tweaked out this week because my co-host Nathan Adams from Wednesday's show, is actually here for Tuesday's show, and Wednesday's show, Marco Ronzi from Scottsdale, Arizona, will be here, driving all the way from Arizona just to visit the Monty Man.
Man, that guy's delusional.
He's nuts.
He's absurd.
He's absolutely crazy. so he's going to be helping me co-host Wednesday's show, and then on Thursday we're broadcasting the debut of our brand new monthly broadcast called the Free by the Sea Recovery Radio Show.
Wow.
Yeah, and we have a brand new sponsor, Free by the Sea. They are located in Ocean Park, Washington. Do you know where that is?
I do.
Yeah, beautiful area.
That is nice.
And oh my gosh, so we were invited to go up to Ocean Park here a couple of weeks ago, and our family went up and on their dime and gas-wise and everything, and went up there, and we stopped at Camp 18 on the way up, a place that if you are watching your cholesterol levels and things like that, do not go there. They have a cinnamon roll that is as big as a football. Mm. Oh my gosh, it's good. If you're doing the paleo thing, then you've fallen from grace if you've even taken a bite of that thing. But it was marvelous. We went up there, and this place is it's like going to summer camp, but at a resort. But the resort isn't so resorty that everything's perfect and polished and everything. I mean, it's got some wear to it, because it's on the ocean. But it's absolutely gorgeous. It is the most. I could live there. I mean, it's just marvelous, Nathan.
Welcoming.
Oh my gosh, and the people. You couldn't tell the staff from the clients. That's how gracious and friendly and welcoming these people were. I thought they were all staff members. Hey, how's it doing? How you doing? You're looking really good. It's a good day. It's a good day to be sober, isn't it? Bless your heart. Blah, blah. I'm like, oh, that must be a staff member. No, they've only been here a week. And I'm like, what? I mean, just an amazing group of people. So this is what's going to happen, Nate. Once a month, Free by the Sea is sending a team of folks. They're called peer leaders, and they're clients that are going through the treatment process, but that have kind of maybe matured a little bit in their program, and they're ready to share their experience, strength, and hope on our radio station. And they're going to come, and we're going to protect their anonymity, of course, and all that. But these are peer leaders that people are looking up to, and they're helping to mentor and that kind of thing. And they're going to come and do the show, and they're going to drive all the way down here. It's like 3 hours,
Neat.
Yeah, and going to be in the studio. So they're actually coming today to tape Thursday's show. Mark Ronzi from Arizona is coming today, too. So it's going to be a busy week. And then on Thursday night, Marcia and I and Marco are going to head on up to Portland or Vancouver, and we're going to be at the Red Lion Inn for Friday and Saturday for the Northwest Recovery Project. So, folks, if you are in the area and you're in Vancouver, stop at the Red Lion Inn. We will be there. I would love to chat with you. We'll put you on the air or not if you don't want to do that. But come by the booth, the Take 12 Radio booth, and we'll be there Friday and Saturday. And then on Sunday, we go over to Esther Short Park and do the Hands Across the Bridge ceremony because September is Recovery Month. And then the World Convention of Oxfest, which is the Oxford House, the sober living folks.
Sounds like Ozzy Osbourne's going to be there.
I know, that's what I think. Oxfest.
Ozfest, yeah.
Oxfest. So it's oh boy, what a busy week for Tickful Radio. So it's really cool. And you've been out chasing Bambi.
Wapiti.
With no luck.
I've been around them, just not the right ones.
Yeah.
Elk.
You have to get a bull, right?
Yeah, I've had cows just come and stand broadside and go poke me with an arrow, whatever you like to do, and
you don't want to take down somebody's mama, though.
No.
Right? You don't. Well, no. Bambi was a guy, wasn't he?
I'll tell you what, though, man. If I had a tag for it,
if you,
it might have been happening.
Yeah.
I'm an apex predator sitting over here.
This is how much I enjoy hunting. I used to take the snails out of my mom's yard and put them in the neighbor's yard because I didn't want her to step on them.
Oh, I grind them and put salt on them.
Isn't that terrible?
Isn't that terrible? I know.
I used to put, but then as I got older and got a little sadistic, I did the salt thing too. But if you put a pie pan, if you put some beer in a pie pan and set it out, they go for it, man. Snails, they be alcoholic to the max.
They like the beer. Huh?
Oh, they do. They do. Yeah. All right, enough of that nonsense. Okay, what we're going to talk about here on the Sober Portland Radio Show, which, by the way, is sponsored by some great folks, but primarily by Freedom Interventions, Matt Brown and the gang up in McMinnville, Oregon. We're going to be talking about the hostility towards 12-step fellowships. And this is an article that came out of Psychology Today magazine. So I've got seven perhaps misconceptions. And we're going to see whether Nathan and I agree or disagree, or maybe a little of both on each of these.
Okay.
So if you're wondering about the 12-step fellowship thing, and you think it's a cult, or you think they're crazy, or you think, or whatever you think, I don't know. If you're listening on the Bill Post Radio Network, or the Graceful Living Network, or any of our other shows, or whatever, and you've never heard this stuff before, hang in there with us because it's very interesting. We'll be right back. Hey there, it's the Monty Man here, and I am proud to announce our brand new sponsor here at Take 12 Radio. The Free by the Sea Sunset View Drug and Alcohol Recovery Center, located in beautiful Ocean Park, Washington. This facility is amazingly gorgeous, but what's even more impressive is the integrity of the staff and the treatment provided for those wishing to recover from drug and alcohol addiction. I really want you to check this out. Visit www.freebythesea.com or call 800-272-9199. The folks at Free by the Sea have a passion for presenting the solution to addiction for you and your loved one. So please visit today, www.freebythesea.com, or call toll-free 800-272-9199.
Hey, dude.
Hey, bro.
Man, I am so excited about this year's National Recovery Month.
Why, bro?
Because, dude, on September 12th, 13th, and 14th, hundreds of recovery folks will be gathering in Vancouver, Washington, in unity and purpose, dude.
Pardon me, bro, but what purpose?
Aw, dude, to celebrate the gift of recovery. Pay attention.
Really? What time, bro?
At 9 a.m. Friday morning, September 12th, an incredible recovery conference will kick off the event at the Red Lion Inn in Vancouver, Washington, dude. Exhibitors, speakers, and presenters will all come together as we break down the stigma of addiction, dude.
Yeah? Then what happens?
On Sunday, we'll walk on over to Eastern Short Park for the powerful Hands Across the Bridge ceremony, dude, followed by Oxfest. You know, the sober living folks.
Can I bring my buddies?
Everyone's invited, dude, and it's free.
It's free?
Dude, what did I just say?
For details on all the events at the Recovery Northwest Project, visit recoverynw.org. Supported in part by the Clark County Department of Community Services, Alcohol and Drug Program, and the Clark County Substance Abuse Advisory Board. That is all I want to say to you. Do, da, da, da.
Da.
Oh, my gosh. The Police. Remember those guys?
I do
The
remember
Police.
those guys.
A da, da, da. Well, I'll tell you what. Music's at an all-time low when that's the only verses we can come up.
Went to number 1, too.
Oh, my gosh. But it's got that beat, you know? It really does. Okay. Okay, why the hostility towards the 12 steps? Well, in the article that was dated November 20th in Psychology Today magazine by David Sack, MD.
Dr. Sack?
Huh?
Dr. Sack?
Dr. Sack.
Okay.
Dr. Sack Attack. In his column, Where Science Meets the Steps, it reads as such. Few approaches to addiction generate as much controversy as 12-step recovery. On one side are the ardent supporters of the program, some of whom credit it with saving their lives. That would be you and I,
Correct.
right? On the other side are the critics and those who found that the program didn't resonate with them or even hindered their recovery. Both have valid points, and both, in the end, are seeking answers to a problem that defies easy solutions. It is understandable that 12-step recovery would generate such strong opposing views. The program touches on fundamental questions everyone has to answer for themselves. Still, it works for many where other approaches fail, and that, to me, is enough to warrant further investigation. Although it is by no means a perfect program, many of the objections to 12-step recovery are based in widespread misconceptions. Let's clear up a few of those those most common misunderstandings. So far, his article is pretty good. So there are 7, according to him, misconceptions. I'm sure there's others, but these are really up there. And let's see. Let's tackle our first few of these, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll come back and tackle the rest. And let's see if you agree or disagree. And you too, listeners, play along. Number 1 misconception. You have to be religious or believe in God to make the program work. That's number 1. Okay, and this is what Dr. Sack says. The 12 steps contain numerous references to God or a higher power, and some meetings conclude with a prayer. Although the steps were initially conceived from a Christian point of view, the core principles have been beneficial for millions of people who do not believe in God. Like other texts and programs, the 12 steps are a series of words and concepts that are open to interpretation. Some people have difficulty maintaining abstinence by willpower alone and need to look outside themselves to a higher power to change their behavior. A higher power can be a religious deity or entity, but it can also be the power of a group working toward a common goal, nature, or some other outside force. If you feel uncomfortable with the spirituality of a particular group, keep searching until you find a closer match. Those 2 paragraphs are filled with some truths and some untruths, right?
Interesting. Yep.
So, the 12 steps contain numerous references to God or higher power. True. Some meetings conclude with prayer. I would say the majority of them do, depending on what prayers they are. He makes a really good point. All the steps were initially conceived from a Christian point of view, which he is correct. The core principles have been beneficial for millions of people who do not believe in God. I would agree with that. But there's a difference between something being beneficial and something being the end-all, be-all, or the solution. It says the 12 steps are a series of words and concepts that are open to interpretation. What do you think about that statement, Nate?
They're actually pretty damn simple and straightforward.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Move your mic towards you more there.
Okay, how about that?
That's good.
Are
they open to interpretation? Or are we supposed to take them at face value?
Well, They are kind of in the meetings. It's kind of a tradition that they do.
What? They're open to interpretation? Okay, let me ask you this. In light of the way the book instructs us to apply them, are they open to interpretation?
No.
But today's fellowship perhaps would suggest that they are.
Correct. That's how I feel about it. Here's an example.
Yeah, me too.
Here's an example for me. Because this God thing was a big thing for me. And I still, I struggle, even though I have my beliefs and where I sit in this. I still, you've seen me go through in the last 10, 15 years where I've went through this. I'm rebelling against God. I'm native religion God. I'm been all over the place searching.
Sure.
So there had to have been a place for a guy like me that's, the closest.
There had to be wiggle room.
Well, the closest I've ever been to God is in the seeking, pretty much, and the looking and figuring and trying and soaking in the rays or whatever, And then, it's taken me a long time to get where I am, but I do struggle with, and I see how it can be interpreted because it says point blank God and a lot of things, but us trying to make it apply to everybody, there's a lot of atheists and agnostics and people that struggle that they can't quite 100% accept that. So we kind of change a little bit of that and let God put them in a...
To make it more palatable for them.
Right? Sometimes I've heard people use doorknobs as their higher power. I've heard people use groups. I've heard people use a lot of stuff. But the whole goal is it's a growing process, and eventually, the whole goal of the thing is to find God. That's where our hope is. But there's a place at the beginning, especially for me, that I was very grateful it was like that, and it was accepting.
So you can start anywhere, even if it's
a process, yeah,
a nowhere place that you're starting at.
Anywhere, because me. I've already proven that I don't have the power in my guts to do it, so I got to find something that helps me, not something greater than me. And so,
so when he says they need to look outside themselves to a higher power to change their behavior, that would be correct.
Absolutely.
And even, here's an interesting thing: the group is not a power greater than yourself. Excuse me. Let me take it back. The group isn't our higher power, but it is a power greater than ourselves.
Correct.
Because there's more power in numbers than there is being the Lone Ranger.
Correct.
So that will get you by for a while. Mm-hmm. And good. Mm-hmm. Good. But you can't stay there.
No.
But where somebody's staying length of time is, we really can't judge.
That's right. There's an example. We know atheists that have 2 or 3 years clean. That literally, and they reach out to anything that's not them, and a group, whatever it may be, and they're making it. But we don't know what's going on in their guts and the battles and where they're going to end up, because I've been just as sick and twisted.
Yeah, because when they lay their head down on their pillow,
we have no idea.
They may be going, God, you know what? Maybe I do believe, maybe I don't know. I mean, they're talking to somebody. We don't know that. But in the meeting, they're going, I don't believe in anything.
Right.
We just don't know, right?
And if they're getting a reprieve, and from what we believe in, it's got to be coming from God.
Even if they don't believe,
even
it's
if
got
they
to
don't
be coming
believe
from
it.
God.
And
right.
see, that's the beauty of, I've shared this with you before, but through all of that stuff, my God's always loved me and never judged me and let me be an egotistical prick, and never stopped, until I...
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's almost not our place to go there. We can't get in God's way, man.
Right.
So
you make the presentation, and then you let God do His thing.
Right. It's easy for us that have been around a long time to go, BOM! But, dude, it would have chased me right out of the room, my man.
Well, and it's because when you have something that's this wonderful, you want people to get it faster than you got it, because you don't want to see them suffer.
It's not our business.
Really. So I would say it says you have to be religious or believe in God to make the program work. I think if the program, the outlining principles of the program are going to work in their fullness, there is going to be a relationship with your Creator at some point, even if it's a relationship of I don't want a relationship. you're going, if you're actually reading the material, you're going to come to a crossroads, and it's going to be something that you're going to have to decide, and it's got to be your relationship. It can't be your sponsors. It can't be your pastors. It can't be your parents. It can't be your buddies. It's got to be yours.
You know, and here's an example, Monty. We talk about this, and we try to put a finger on it. We try to put a definition, but you know, there's times for me that I get so confused with all that crap that I know that if I close my eyes and I get into gratitude, I'm with my Maker. And I don't even realize I'm there. But, dude, I'm holding hands with him. If I close my eyes and get into gratitude, and
Pretty simple, huh?
I'm basically holding his hand.
Yeah.
And my brain don't even... Earlier, Nathan would have never put that together. But that's what was going on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. Okay, here's misconception number 2. Powerlessness frees the addict or alcoholic from accepting responsibility. Now, we know, and I've heard it, you probably have too, a lot of people say, well, you know, those alcoholics and addicts in those meetings, they blame everything on their addiction or their alcoholism. They don't take any responsibility because they say they're powerless. Mm-hmm. Those kind of statements come from people that haven't read our literature, and they haven't been listening very well.
Agreed.
So he goes on, while the initial choice to use drugs or alcohol is within the individual's control, don't know if I agree with that or not, but once physical or psychological dependency sets in, they have lost control. Despite repeated attempts to quit, they continue using even in the face of job loss, financial and legal troubles, and other negative consequences. Powerlessness occurs because prolonged drug abuse changes the structure and function of the brain, and it takes time in sobriety to repair the damage. Powerlessness does not mean that the addict is inherently flawed, exempt from thinking for themselves, or incapable of recovery, or that they can rely on their higher power to fix everything without taking steps to improve their own lives. That would contradict the entire premise of the 12-step program. Instead, it is a statement about the nature of the disease, designed to remove the blame and shame, underlying shame, that often prevent addicts from getting help, and to show addicts one way of proclaiming power over their lives. The one thing he says here, drug abuse changes the structure and function of the brain, and it takes time to repair the damage. Yeah, that is very true, and that's where I think that a person can actually develop addiction without having the genetic disposition by abuse of the substance. It can change you. But people that have the genetic disposition already have that mindset before that were put in their bodies. Mm-hmm. But that's not an excuse, right? So have you heard people say that you guys just blame everything on your addiction and you don't take responsibility?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So he wrote that well. That's actually not true.
I agree with the whole thing he wrote there, buddy.
That is a misconception that we don't take responsibility. Number 3 misconception: addicts substitute their addiction with a dependence on 12-step meetings. Actually, a lot of people do that.
Correct.
However, I will say this, and I know that some of my faith-based folks aren't going to like this, but listen, if that's all you can do in the beginning is be dependent on the meetings, I'd rather you do that than do nothing, right? He says, as a chronic relapsing disease, long-term care is vital for sustained addiction recovery. If meetings provide some recovering addicts with the support and fellowship they need, they are encouraged to keep going as long as they wish. In the early stages, people may benefit from frequent attendance, which often diminishes over time as they develop other support systems and become more firmly grounded in their recovery. So if you're growing in your program and your meetings diminish a little bit, that's okay, as long as something else is increasing. I mean, I was doing the 90 meetings, the 90-day thing, weren't you? I mean, weren't you there? For no other reason than we had nothing else to do.
Yeah. Just holding on to anything that worked.
So what's wrong with that?
Nothing. Then I guess it's wrong to go to church every week, and it's wrong.
Right.
I mean, anything that, and I don't go there. I don't even really know what I'm going there for sometimes, but I know this. When I leave, I feel better, and it comes at me in different angles. And, dude, it's just a place for me to own my own stuff, get in, because, dude, the world drives me out of that zone. It makes me forget. It makes me, and so I have to go there, and I have to get on that level, and it just puts the door and the perspective all back in place for me.
Well, and how are you going to give this thing away to people that are showing some interest in receiving it, if not there?
Mm-hmm. And how many people do you know that had, was an old timer,
right?
Stopped going to meetings, the insanity kicked in, they come back in as a freshie.
But I will submit that they relapsed way before they stopped going to meetings.
Correct. But I'm not giving it all, but I'm saying.
But perhaps if they had stuck around,
it's a tool.
They could have been kind of reeled back in.
It's a tool.
And not went back out.
It's a tool.
Okay, the 12-step program, and I love this one. The 12-step program is a cult. I really like how he puts this. 12-step programs have overarching principles and traditions that may seem unusual to people unfamiliar with addiction and recovery. So we get it. We understand why people might think that. It is a close-knit group of people who share similar struggles, but this does not make it a cult. People are free to participate or not. That's not the way it is in a cult. And to take what works for them and leave the rest. Now, that's not program. Take what you leave and leave the rest. That's something somebody in a treatment facility came up with. That's a dangerous thing to teach, but that seems to be kind of the attitude these days. There is hope that participants will embrace the wisdom of some of the 12-step principles, but they are also encouraged to think critically and to find their own way. So, yeah, there is, whether you agree or disagree or think it's healthy or unhealthy, there is a tremendous amount of freedom within 12-step circles. And that isn't the case in cults.
Yeah, and I just pulled up the definition of cult, Monty.
Oh, good.
A couple of them apply. So
okay.
It's one of those. One of the definitions is a system of religious veneration and devotion directed towards a particular figure or object. Well, that don't apply. A relatively small group of people having a religious belief or practices regarded by others as strange or sinister. That's one of the definitions. And the other one is a misplaced or excessive admiration of one for a particular person or thing. So,
but that second one can really apply to all sorts of groups.
That's
of
what
people.
I'm saying. So, two of the definitions talk about, worshiping false things, and
right.
All of a sudden Monty's a prophet, and I'm going to follow Monty no matter what. And then the other one applies to, so it's a kind of a definition.
Yeah, so by definition, but I think society, though, when they think of cult, they think of things like the Moonies or
and the dudes that all killed themselves and all that stuff.
Yeah,
together.
Guyana. Yeah. You show up someplace and everybody's dressed in white and they have shaved heads and bells around their necks.
But
that's not necessarily the case, right?
No, that definition to others, we seem strange, buddy.
We do. So I get it. We do seem
running around going, keep it simple, buddy, and one day at a time, and all the little mama jamas people will go, holy crap,
And then on top of it, we don't have any leadership structure. It's all just kind of self-governing.
It's kind of so. I mean, one of the
does seem
definitions
kind of
apply.
weird. Yeah,
it is pretty weird.
It is
for a normie.
Misconception number 5: there are too many rules. I love this. 12-step recovery is full of guiding principles and suggestions. By the way, the 12 steps are not a program of suggestions. It is a suggested program. Okay, a program of suggestions says, okay, here's a program, and you can do this and that if you want to, if you don't want to, blah, blah, blah. No, it is a suggested program. So, but once you've taken that suggested program, then you have to take the program as a whole. You don't take what you need and leave the rest. So there's a difference between a program of suggestions and a suggested program. Says, but there are actually very few rules, and he's correct. Working the steps is a choice participants make. I like that he said participants, because there's a difference between being a participant and being an active member. If you're an active member, then I think you're working the steps. But if you're just somebody that's participating in the meetings, you're not really a member of AA or NA or whatever. You're just somebody that's participating in the coffee. And so please don't call yourself an AA member or an NA member if you're just coming for the coffee, because you're really not. I mean, you can say that. You may say you're a member when you say you are. Okay, technically, yeah. But are you really? I mean, if I'm a member of my service organization, Rotary Club, church, synagogue, whatever, am I really, truly a member unless I'm plugged in and active? Not really. Okay, working the steps is a choice participants make of their own volition every day. You can come and go as you choose. Adapt the program to suit your needs. And if you relapse, the group will welcome you back with open hearts. Yeah. The 12-step principles are not random or haphazard. Rather, they address specific what's that? What is that word? Deficits. Yeah. In learning, memory, empathy, and other areas impacted by drug abuse. Sharing stories along with routinely scheduled meetings and oft-repeated mantras, for example, help addicts remember the next right thing to do even when their thinking is still clouded by drugs. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it's not a rule. Nope. Nobody's hoarding it over you.
Yeah, because once again, I read some of these things, and I know people with 10 years and their life has gotten hugely better, and they rebuke some of the basis.
But you know what?
In time.
Sometimes I wonder, though, if they're truly addicts or alcoholics, or if they're just heavy drinkers or drug abusers.
It's a tough one.
But for whatever reason, they're not drinking and using, and anytime you can get somebody behind the wheel of a car sober versus drunk, I applaud you.
Yeah, and it's really not my place to judge.
Let's take a break and come back with, let me see, what was that? Was that number 5?
Oh, number 5.
That was number 5. Okay, come back with number 6. 12-step recovery is for old men, losers, and people who are too weak to do it on their own.
Do you apply to that, Monty?
Probably. We'll be right back.
Treatment does not have to be voluntary to be effective. Sanctions and enticements from family, employment settings, and or the criminal justice system can significantly increase treatment entry, retention rates, and the ultimate success of drug treatment interventions. Freedom Interventions provides the direction necessary to get the help of an addiction intervention. We assist with selecting a treatment experience appropriate for the unique needs of your addicted loved one and provide 6 months of ongoing support to ensure success for everyone involved in the transition into real life. If you know someone who needs a life-saving intervention, visit freedominterventions.com or call 888-762-7557. That's 888-762-7557. Freedom Interventions, providing drug and alcohol interventions and a continuum of care services to clients and their families.
Free by the Sea, Sunset View Drug and Alcohol Recovery Center offers an inpatient residential treatment program for drug and alcohol addiction. Through our many years of experience treating addictions, we know that the best way to ensure successful treatment outcomes is by removing the client from the people, places, and things associated with their addictions. By reducing these distractions, we are able to give our clients the opportunity to fully engage in the treatment process and learn the coping skills they will need in order to begin a new life free from addiction. For more information, visit our website at www.freebythesea.com or call 800-272-9199. That's 800-272-9199. Free by the Sea, charting a new course to recovery.
Just take those old records off the shelf. I said listen to them by myself. Today's music ain't got the same sound.
Mr. Bob Seger. Is that, whenever I hear that song, I just want to, put on my white dress shirt and my tidy whities and my white socks and slide
Dance
across the
around
hardwood floor.
and have a pillow fight.
Yeah. I didn't realize how immoral and disgusting that movie was.
Which one?
Risky Business.
Oh.
Until after I watched it years later, when, my heart was a little different. And it's all about high school prostitution. And I mean, the guy, oh my God. It's horrible. But man, a classic movie, that's for sure. All right. Misconception number 6 about 12-step recovery programs. 12-step recovery is for old men like you and me, Nate, losers and people who are too weak to do it on their own. Now, that
kind of applies to me.
Well, guess what? I am too weak to do it on my own.
That's exactly right, buddy.
Somebody said, don't you think that's a crutch? I go, what makes you think I'm not crippled?
Yeah.
Dude.
I'm crippled in every way, my friend.
I'm like, these people that post things like that on YouTube, there's a lot. It's for people that can't handle reality. And, I'm thinking, okay, what are you dependent on? Do you walk to work or do you drive? Let's go something simple as that. Oh, you mean you drive?
And
Why can't you walk to work, loser?
You buy your groceries at Walmart? You don't go kill your meat? I mean, what's going on there?
Yeah, what's up with that? You can't even kill your meat.
I'm working on it.
He says, the misconception is based on inaccurate, outdated information. Addiction is a chronic, progressive illness, not an issue of willpower, and affects all type of people. Mm-hmm. The opposite of weak. It takes tremendous strength and courage to reach out for help. Yes, I love that. Mm-hmm. Some people may be able to recover on their own, but most cannot. And there is no shame in that. People with other chronic diseases do not expect to heal themselves, nor should addicts. Even teens benefit from 12-step programs. Addicts often feel they are different, better, or less damaged than the people they meet at 12-step meetings. In a group as diverse as typically found in a 12-step meeting, it would be surprisingly to instantly connect with or even agree with the perspectives of every member. Yeah, because we're so diverse. You may look different on the surface, but inside, the people in 12-step recovery are fighting to stay clean, just like you. Let me say something right there. For those of us who are right fighters, and I can be one.
You?
Me? Well, it's hard not to be when you're right.
That's right. That's right.
That's right. That's right. But sometimes I think, even when we're absolutely right, we need to look past that and see whether they're doing it right, doing it wrong, whatever they're doing, what is the desire of their heart? And be a little sensitive to that.
They're doing it.
The desire of their heart is to say that the person that's doing it wrong is usually the same as the person that's doing it right. It's the same desire. Right. I don't want to use anymore.
Well, Monty, me and you have been buddies for 15 years. How many times in a friendship have we shown each other grace when we both had a different opinion?
Sure.
And a lot of times we didn't because we're both opinionated. But you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You're doing something that's, I've done a lot of crazy things that are far-fetched. And you said, he's on it, he's trying, and God's working on him. And it's really not, that's where we've conflicted is when I go, Monty, gosh dang it, when you wear your hair like that, it's wrong. You know what I'm saying? I push my opinions on you.
That's why we all need dartboards. That's pictures of each other. That loser. If you feel out of place in a specific meeting, look inward to see if you are unfairly judging people before you get to know them.
Ooh.
I like that.
That's a good one there, buddy. So,
look back at yourself. Before you walk out, before you stop coming, whether it's, where you worship, whether it's Boy Scouts, whether it's even going out to dinner. I mean, okay, you get food poisoning at Applebee's. Do you stop going out to dinner? Mm-hmm. Most people don't. Mm-hmm. You find a restaurant that hopefully you trust. If you get to know the people a bit better and still feel uncomfortable, consider trying a few other meetings. It's okay to meeting shop. It's okay to church shop. It's okay to shop for the job that you prefer. But plug in someplace.
You know, and I keep getting, every time we read one of these, my brain keeps going on the same spot. Usually if I go to a meeting, let's say there's a guy because I have a tendency to, when something's going on, there's a lot of crosstalk, I happen to share a story in an uninvasive way that kind of, in my head, I'm going, I'd like to remind myself that this is not a counseling session. And, my famous line. And when people, when people do
what
that.
You're really saying is, hey, dude, this isn't a counseling
Right.
session, right?
But my point is when someone does that, they rub me the wrong freaking way, man. And I leave that meeting, and I have to check myself. I'm going, that dude just needs. But, dude, most of the times I hate other people or I dislike other people, something I need to work on. So there's always always a step back where you're going, I always don't get something about what's going on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. Okay, so when somebody says something in a meeting
that rubs me.
That rubs us the wrong way, I disagree that it always means we see that in ourselves. But what I do agree with is that something's going on that we need to look at. Because if it's disturbing us that much to cause us to even consider not coming back,
right,
or worse yet, walking out in the middle of the guy's share, there's something going on in us that is lacking in love and tolerance.
Yeah, and if I didn't have something, if I was totally good and peaceful, you ain't going to say nothing that bothers me.
Right.
So if you say something that bothers me, I got some little glitch inside my belly that I need to look at.
Yeah, because think of when things have been absolutely just bizarre around you and you had total serenity. You're like, that's no big deal. What was going on then? Usually we were pretty centered before and after. Right? So Mike D, who he and I don't see eye to eye on almost 99.9% of everything, said something that I do agree with. He says, you know what? Maybe before you even get in your car on your way to the meeting, you've already got an agenda. And maybe that's why you're ticked off. There's those expectations again. Okay, and number 7, 12-step programs don't work. Misconception number 7. There has always been a divide between two schools of thought on addiction. And let me say this. When we say addiction on this show, that's all encompassing. Alcoholics Anonymous refers to alcoholism in their literature as an addiction. So when we say addiction, we're not necessarily taking sides with Narcotics Anonymous or anything. We're just saying that addiction is addiction. Anytime the tail's wagging the dog and you've lost the power to control, or if you have the obsession to do when you're not doing it, then you've got an addiction. The scientific community and the recovery community. Let me say it again. There's always been a divide between the schools of thought on addiction. The scientific community and the recovery community. That's true. At least in part because of this divide, there was a lack of scientific evidence documenting how and why the 12-step program works. Through anecdotal evidence, though anecdotal evidence is abundant. Science has long dismissed 12-step recovery, leaving a dearth of data where 75 years of history should provide much more, and 12-step recovery has long rejected the need for the validity of scientific inquiry. But the necessary conclusion is not that 12-step recovery doesn't work. Rather, the research to date has been inadequate. So maybe if you're thinking that it doesn't work, maybe the research hasn't been real conclusive. And you know why? There's 2 reasons. Number 1, we don't like it when researchers come into our meetings and want to take polls, want to ask questions, because of the anonymity thing. We don't like that. We welcome it in open meetings. In fact, I've sat in meetings where a college student who's doing a study on recovery,
I have too.
Okay, will come in.
I've seen that too.
But I've also watched people squirm. They don't like it. I don't have a problem with it. It's an open meeting. But I can tell people are like, they're kind of a little uncomfortable. And so we maybe even subconsciously, we kind of close up a little bit. Maybe we don't talk about the stuff that's really working. And so it's really hard for them to get data that suggests that this thing's working. The other reason is because we misunderstand the anonymity tradition, we think we can't share our stories of success and victory to the public. And that's one of the things we try to break that stigma here at Take 12 Radio. Anonymity doesn't mean secrecy. It just means that you don't affiliate yourself with the specific 12-step program that you're in on a public level of press, radio, or film, or / internet.
And let me ask you this, Monty.
Yeah.
Is the definition of working, the program working, is the definition of he's sober and been sober? Or does it also apply, yes or no, to when you got 30 days and you ate poop on a weekend, but you're back in there? Does that mean the program isn't working or working? What's the definition of that?
I would say that would be a daily thing.
That would be a daily thing, correct.
Yeah.
It could work for me today, but it ain't going to work for me tomorrow.
Well, and usually if it isn't, it's because I'm not doing something.
That's right.
The program, the literature is in black and white. It isn't doing anything right or wrong. It's just sitting there.
So it'd be almost impossible to give a right study.
It would be.
It would be dang near impossible.
It would be. And you brought that up before, and it's a very good point. Because we don't know the future, and because we can't go back to the past, we only have today. Yes, we are done drinking and using for good and for all. Yeah. How do we do that? One day at a time. What's our determination? That we're done. But, man, I could be sober as a church mouse and not work the program.
That's right. Yeah.
So is the program not working?
No. Monty's not in jail today. He's got a driver's license. It must work. It's more than that.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. It's unfortunate that 12-step recovery is widely misunderstood and under-researched. Even less fortunate is the fact that these misconceptions drive people away from the process before they can evaluate whether the program might make a difference in their recovery. Like any single approach to addiction, 12-step recovery isn't for everyone, but for those who give it a fair try, the potential payoff is great. Recovery is not just about stopping one isolated behavior, drug use, but learning a new way of life, and this is the real value of 12-step recovery.
I was going to keep commenting on this.
Yeah,
name.
do it.
I was going to comment him over and over about being Dr. Sack, but I kind of like Dr. Sack.
There's a couple things in here that I think he doesn't understand about it, but for the most part,
he's on it.
He's got it pretty good. Yeah, for the most part, he's got it right. So, if you're going by his explanation, how could you find any fault in that? How could you find anything wrong with?
That's the beauty of it.
I can't.
And that's the beauty of the 12-step program. It really is.
Yeah.
Is that it can apply and it can't, almost everybody can fit in there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I could come in anywhere I'm at in my life, at the bottom, wherever the heck I am, spiritually, and I can find a place to grow from. And to me, that's a very important thing. Mm-hmm. And the way it's written and the way it's designed, and I just think that, I think it's pretty genius.
So have you come up against opposition? And people said, Nathan, I think that stuff's just a bunch of horse.
Oh yeah. In fact, I own a business, and I don't share it with the whole world, but if I'm asked about it, but a lot of my employees, a lot of people I hang out with, and they don't get it. Yeah. So I just don't go there. To me, it's to them, it's about, well, just put your dang bootstraps up, man, get her done,
Right.
And to me, it's like, I need all the help I can get, and I need to stay humble, and I need to keep reaching, because it will get me. So when people poo-poo the 12-step process,
Don't you think a lot of it is they've either made an attempt at it and just kind of threw in the towel because in their perceptions some things were either too difficult to look at or it was too uncomfortable, or they're just ignorant. And I don't mean ignorant in a mean way. I just mean they have lack of knowledge.
Well, and just like we were just queuing in on it when we were talking about if something bothers me and other people, usually I got some stuff to stir up in myself. You know, how could you be mad at a process that is saving people that were doomed before the 12 steps were designed? I mean, we were just supposed to eat, poop, and die. That's what even the doctors thought. There was no hope for us. And by taking this spiritual approach, a few of us started to make it. And, you know, there's millions of us. I've been to Maui. I've been to different places. And I see this thing working in people's lives everywhere. I mean, it's worldwide, man. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's not, it's not so much for me. When I was using Buddy, I was lost. Maybe normal people are supposed to know the basic stuff. But, man, when you start playing chemist with your brain and start self-medicating and doing what we do and getting lost in addiction, I lose all of that stuff. And from day one, the 12 steps is a simple process that I think it may be every human being, right, wrong, simple things that are kind of part of our DNA that needs to be. Some of the normies, they have that. My wife, she's a normie. That's just part of who she is. She was raised, but I don't know why. She just knows. You know,
there's some basic life principles that we just have lost along the way that other people just have.
It's different.
They don't, you know, and the 12 steps can be applied in any situation to anybody at any time. That's true. But some people absolutely need this process to be what the big book says, literally be reborn. They have to have this. Otherwise, they just die.
Think about it.
And other people don't.
Man, how many times have you felt totally lost, hopeless, and broken, and somebody grabs something out of the program and goes, this is what worked for me.
Yes.
And this could probably work.
Yes.
And you're like, oh my gosh, there's hope. I'm not doomed. Because in my head I am.
And I have to be reminded of it all the time.
How many times have you followed people through something or a direction and going, whoa, I can't believe that worked.
I know.
How many times? Because, you know.
I know.
You know what I'm saying?
Herbert Spencer writes, and this has got to be my favorite quote in the entire big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And this does not belong to AA. It's something Herbert Spencer said. There is a principle which is a bar against all information, which is proof against all arguments, and which cannot fail to keep a man in everlasting ignorance. That principle is contempt prior to investigation. So if you haven't thoroughly checked something out, and we check things out all the time, don't we? We go to the store, we look at the labels, we see, you know, how much fat, how much this, how much that. Yeah. We do it all the time. So don't tell me that you don't do it. Mm-hmm. But if you're not checking something out for yourself, not believing what everybody else says, good, bad, or indifferent, you can't make a fair judgment call on it. You can't. It's okay to make a judgment call. We make judgment calls all the time. But make a fair one.
Mm-hmm. And then it's the same thing. Why would you find... here's an example of that guy that says, you know, I'm just going to make it my life goal to get God out of the national anthem in the school. Now, why do you think he would do that? Because it ain't hurting a dang person and it's part of tradition. Because he has an issue.
Because he has an issue.
So why would you not? I would knock nothing that's helping people. If it don't apply to me and something bothers me about it, I'm going to look at why. But if people are growing, getting strong, and doing what they need to do in there, why would you pound this?
And that's really the proof is in the pudding. What fruits is it producing? So if it's producing fruit,
why would you
if
pound
it's producing it, then you know it's kind of like,
why would you bother it?
Yeah,
it's a good thing.
You know,
it's a good thing.
The reason that we do is because we're balking against it because there's something about it that makes us uncomfortable.
My point taken. Yep.
You know, and like you said, well, you know, Joe or Jane hasn't been driving behind the wheel of a car for the last 14 years intoxicated. Guess what? That means your kid gets to live longer.
That's right.
Because they're out there on their skateboards. Mm-hmm.
And
Why would you balk against
they're
that?
in there looking at their stuff. They're in there getting close to. I mean, they're trying.
Yeah.
I just don't.
I hear you.
Why is that an issue? Why is it even brought up? You don't have to agree with everything, but dude, I don't agree with a lot of stuff that's pretty rad.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
I hear you. All right, my friend. All right, go get your elk. Go back out there. You going to go back out there?
I'm going to go out there every chance I get. The whoppity.
You can follow Nathan on Facebook. You see pictures of, empty beds that the elk has made and moved on.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, PETA and all those other guys are probably really ticked off at me right now. But, what can I say? I'm not a hunter. I'm a cow bigot. I am. Say, well, you eat cows. I go, yeah, but cows don't have personalities. You're a cow bigot, Monty. I go, yeah, I guess you're right. Give me a cow any day.
That's right.
All right, buddy. All right. We'll talk to you next week, right?
Oh, yeah.
Next Monday.
That's right.
All right. Until our next broadcast, this is the Monty Man along with Nathan Adams, and we're wishing God's perfect serenity for you. Bye-bye.
This show has been made available by Freedom Interventions, Sober Portland, and Take 12 Radio. This has been a broadcast of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.
And it's all because your mama don't dance and your daddy don't rock and roll.
Yeah, well, sure it is.